So the real episode 1 of season 2 of One Punch Man finally dropped, and I gotta say, even as someone who never really bought into the whole JC Staff sucks, One Punch Man season 2 is gonna be a disaster, oh no, the sky is falling narrative. Like many of the knucklehead blowhards trying to make bank off of popular and already socially accepted narratives by preaching to the choir, you can check my previous videos on the subject matter to confirm. I was somewhat surprised by the quality job that JC Staff has done here. People simply put way too much stock into Madhouse as a studio, probably because it's one of the more well-recognized studios among Westerners. And people simply don't like to go out of their comfort zones, even when it comes to Japanese cartoons, funny enough. But as someone who's actually watched both Boogie Pop and Others, a series that actually happens to be directed by the former One Punch Man director Natsume Shingo, and their newest recent spring anime, based off a video game, Toshi no Shometsu, One Punch Man moving on from Madhouse and Natsume Shingo really isn't that much of a loss. The directing in Boogie Pop and Others was excessively bland for someone with Natsume's notoriety, and Toshi no Shometsu, despite having better direction, I think, still has some very questionable production values. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the heck out of Boogie Pop and Others, and Toshi no Shometsu is something I've been liking so far. But as you can see, neither are the top-notch productions that many have idealized Madhouse shows to be. It would have been very unlikely for Natsume and Madhouse to replicate the animation quality of Season 1 given the special circumstances that led to it, with much of the animation being done by freelancers who worked outside the studio, who were only doing it as a favor to Natsume. Because of those factors, One Punch Man Season 1, believe it or not, did not have a higher budget than your typical anime. If you took off the rose-colored glasses actually, you'd notice outside of select Sakuga moments, the directing was fairly bland, and the art not so incredible, just like in Boogie Pop. From watching episode 1 from JC Staff, the art really doesn't look worse than season 1, and perhaps even more accurate to the manga by the highly acclaimed artist Murata. Personally, I find a lot of people have an unfound bias towards equating thicker lines as better, probably due to it making things look more stand out and easier to tell, like sprites in a video game. It's not a make or break deal for me though, as I think softer line art can make for more expressive animation. And one of the things that stood out to me the most so far about JC Staff's One Punch Man production is the very well animated facial expressions, which is very important to a comedic show like One Punch Man. Seeing King go through all those exaggerated expressions which contradict the intimidating nature of his face is what sells the joke. And JC Staff does a magnificent job of conveying that sense of irony. Perhaps even more important than that is that even the fighting scenes look pretty good, which is actually what most people were concerned about, right? With fairly fluid animation and not a lot of cut keyframes, you can see there's a bit of a skip here on the landing from Gino. As well as dynamic camera angles to make the action look more impactful. There really shouldn't be too many complaints about these scenes other than maybe the action being more digitally assisted with some shaky cam here and there, and the digital coloring being more muted, especially not as shiny on the armor. The only real and major loss that I can think of is not having Arifumi Imai on board, as he did by far my favorite Sakuga moments from Season 1, with his ability to combine highly detailed character animations that you typically won't see from even the best of Sakuga artists, as they have to keep the details on the character designs minimal to make them more fluid, along with his ability to convey motion in a more grounded but also poppy way. It's hard to think of an artist that you would rather have working on your series, but his talents make him an extremely busy man, as he's been working on Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2, as well as the cabin area of the Iron Fortress movie. But looking at some of the cutscenes from the One Punch Man Season 2 opening, I think there may be some exciting animators to fill in the gaps with their own unique visual flares. One final detail that I think really highlights the amount of effort that JC Staff has put into this production, for all you doubters out there, is something that you rarely see in any anime series, including One Punch Man Season 1. My eyes were so pleased that I had to do a double check when first observing this, and that detail is actual character background animation. And not just one guy moving his lip flap, but crowds of non-CGI people moving in individual ways. Pretty amazing, isn't it? So as you can see, One Punch Man Season 2 is in good hands, despite all the haters saying otherwise, delivering on a more than palatable Episode 1. So put your worries to rest for One Punch Man Season 2, and if you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Peace!
まあいいだろう。心して聞け。
ドキドキシスターズシリーズはやっぱりオープニングが凝ってるな。